More than a quarter of Kenyans living in arid and semi-arid areas are now facing high levels of food insecurity, according to government and United Nations data. Prolonged drought in East Africa and the war in Ukraine, which we mentioned a few minutes ago, are adding even more pressure to household budgets. Some of the poorest can just about afford one meal a day. Our Africa correspondent Catherine Byaruhanga reports from Nairobi.
East Africa's biggest metropolis can be unforgiving. This is how Florence has been forced to make a living, collecting and selling scrap from this dump site. She's fallen on hard times after her small food store was shut to make way for a new expressway. Florence earns just 85 US cents a day. Even then, she says she could still feed her children twice a day before food prices shot up.
Nowadays, I am only able to cook supper. We cannot manage to cook lunch because prices are very high.
So Florence now rarely shops at her local market.
Onions are used in almost every family meal in Kenya. 6 months ago, these three would have cost you about 9 US cents. But now the price has more than doubled. And even though this is one of the cheaper places to buy vegetables in Nairobi, many families have been priced out of the market. They can no longer afford them.
Food production is down in Kenya because of failed rains. And now traders here have to pay closer attention to the war in Ukraine, as it's already hitting the industry.
There is a war between Russia and Ukraine. It has affected us Kenyans because some farm inputs, like fertilizers, come from there. Now they have become more expensive, and many farmers are unable to meet the production cost, and that has driven prices up.
A few hundred meters away, Catherine, who is unemployed, is struggling to put food on the table. She moved here from Kitui in eastern Kenya. During tough times, her mother would have sent her food from the village. But because of the drought, that's not possible.
It's very dry in my rural village. There is no rain. When it rains, there is food, and she is able to send me some food. But right now, she is also depending on us to send her. It's very dry and there's no food.
Over 4 million people in Kenya are facing hunger. But these statistics focus on rural areas and do not include vulnerable communities in urban centers.
The issue is that when we have a drought situation and when we have food prices going up, and when we have an economy that is still recovering, then we have huge populations within the urban areas that are just as affected with food insecurity.
The government and its international partners are now assessing how many people in cities are affected by the recent food insecurity, in the hope of bringing them some help. Catherine Byaruhanga, BBC News, Nairobi.